comes to the general election, there are very good predicting models about the 4 primary factors that lead to electoral victory. And those factors have to do with the economy, popularity of the president, the general mood of the public, and foreign policy, and the recent bit most likely about war. This is a little bit cumbersome, but I just want to show you. This is basically on the bottom percentage change in respondents' income, so people getting wealthier, versus votes for the president. The details aren't that important, but this goes back 20 elections, and it just shows a very strong line between support for the incumbent president and votes for that president. I just want to give you that image. That's where the logic of the economy really matters comes from. The most important thing, though, is unemployment concerns. This graph is a little bit messy, but I want to put it up here because it's very important. This, to me, is driving much of the Romney campaign and much of the Clinton campaign. Because what this is showing is unemployment levels in each of these swing states. So if you look at the top, Nevada has unemployment at 12%. North Carolina, Florida, Michigan, and Colorado, all of those down about halfway. This is right here is 8%. Sorry, those states at the top that have unemployment still above 8%, if unemployment really matters and unemployment in those states really matter, those will give Mitt Romney 96 votes. If he wins just those states where unemployment still stays above 8%, he wins the election. Now, will he do that? I don't know. If Obama wins the states where unemployment has returned back to normal, Virginia, Iowa, New Hampshire, again, of these swing states, that'll give him 23 votes. Well, that's good, but it's not enough. So indeed, Obama is pushing for Wisconsin and Iowa, the ones that are in the middle, but he also needs to win somebody in that part where unemployment is still bad. So you'll see an awful lot of ads pushing in those states where unemployment is still high, but he has a chance of winning. Again, it's just important to think about the states because everything in that presidential election is going to hinge on the electoral votes from those states. And so looking at how things are doing in the particular states is really important. The overall economy of the United States is recovering. Slowly, but it's recovering, especially in the business and financial sectors. They're doing better. But the recovery is not even. And so looking at this on a state-by-state level matters. And some of this is curious because one of the states where he would likely do well in the Midwest, like Wisconsin, right now is experiencing a severe drought. That means the harvest is going to be very poor. That means the farmers are not going to do well. That bodes very badly for the president. But anyway, a lot of talk right now in Washington is about the fiscal budget, national budget. I want to give you just a look at what that looks like. If you look at the U.S. debt going forward, that top set, the orange, is by far and away the biggest cost to the debt. That is the tax cuts. It's because we tax ourselves not enough. We spend more than we bring in. If you look underneath it, there's the cost for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's not going to disappear, but it's not going to increase anymore. We're pulling back in those areas. The blue is the amount of money lost because of the recession. That hopefully will recover too. The biggest ongoing cost is the tax cuts. The big dispute about the tax cuts in the popular media is, oh my God, we don't like taxes. The reality of it is you need some source of income generation, and the big question is where are you going to get that money, and who's going to pay the bulk of that? And that is a very politically dicey, politically sensitive issue. But people are avoiding that by just saying we hate taxes. But the reality is whoever gets elected has to come up with additional revenue sources. So they're going to have to make that call. And indeed, there's a lot right now in the United States about a fiscal cliff we're going to fall over in January. that cliff is really about taxes, and if tax rates go up, that won't actually hit until next April, so more than a year later. And there'll be a lot of changes between now and then. But also, in my mind, if we hit that fiscal cliff, which is automatic cuts in spending, automatic getting rid of these tax breaks, that's great, because all of a sudden then the politicians have to talk about what to give back, not what to get rid of. So actually it could be very helpful politically and everything else. People talk about cutting the federal budget deficit. This is just to give you a sense of what that looks like. 21% of the federal budget goes into Social Security, 21% into the defense, about 21% into medicine, Medicare, healthcare. Those programs are not likely to get cut. So everybody focuses on this little bit at the bottom and says, oh, well, that's where we have to pull money from. But you can already, it's very difficult. You can pull money from education, from scientific research. It's not very smart to do that. But those biggest areas of the budget are not really touchable, and that's where the whole problem is. The biggest cost going forward is likely to be medical. The irony is that a lot of people want health care coverage, and indeed a huge portion of the U.S. population is about to retire. Baby boomers, a large bulge in the population. Most people spend on health care or get covered by federal health care when they retire, not beforehand. So most of those expenses go when you're older. The problem with that population is it's not just big, but it is poorer than their parents, or will be poorer in retirement than their parents, because their parents had pensions. Pensions don't exist anymore, or they're much smaller than they used to be. People younger than me knew that and are saving and have all sorts of savings. The generation before me, 10 years before me, I'm part of the end of that, didn't prepare. They thought they would get pensions, aren't getting pensions, they haven't saved very much. They'll be taken care of, but they don't have a lot of disposable income. That means they're going to be very dependent upon the government for health care coverage. That's why health care costs are going to continue to go up, and that's why people are afraid of it. Ironically, if you look at the popularity of health care reform, which really benefits these people, the red line is still the percentage of people that say they want to overturn it. It's actually, again, a political craziness, because if you ask people individually, they want all their coverage. They just don't want what goes into it. But healthcare is a political issue. It will not change as much as everybody says it's going to change based on the new Congress and President. It won't change because it's a demographic reality that this large portion of the population is retiring, this large portion of the population is going to need help. And the state will step in some capacity to deal with it. So big sensitive political issue, but not real economic issue. The bigger issue for the president today, and the issue that Mitt Romney is looking at, is not federal spending or federal budgets. Those things will actually get worked out, I think, regardless of who is in office. This will be managed. And I don't actually think at the end of the day it'll be managed very differently depending on who gets elected. The real issue for the election is the economic status of these states, because remember, we're talking about the Electoral College. That means it's the voting of these swing states. And if you look at the budgets of these states in the United States, all but one or two have laws that say you must balance your budget. That means all but one or two cannot borrow to get out of debt. They have to balance their budgets. And every single one of the ones in red in this map are in financial trouble. They're all short, and they are recovering much slower than the economy as a whole. California is horribly in bad shape. But they're not the only ones, and the swing states are doing poorly. The problem with that politically is that those states provide for state universities, where the bulk of people go to get educated, and state tuitions are going up all over the place. They provide for education. They provide for transportation infrastructure. They provide for help to municipalities and cities that provide for basic services. All of those basic services are in threat or being diminished right now on a state level. that means Obama is very nervous because even though, again, the national economy is going up, it will take a few more years before these states recover, especially the swing states. And every single swing state is in financial difficulty today. So this is where he is most vulnerable. So the economy is one big issue. Let me go through these others relatively quickly. The economy is one issue that really drives political votes. A second is presidential approval. The president is right about in the middle. This is approval, how many people approve of what he's doing, how many people disapprove. It's right about the same. The country's really split 50-50 on this. They still like Obama better than Romney. Obama is in the blue, Romney is in the red. Obama is much, much better on the campaign trail. He's a much better speaker. He relates to people better. Romney still has a problem of appearing to be an elitist or telling the British they can't run the Olympics very well. He makes mistakes. But people like Obama better. But he's still only about half. Still only about half of the population chooses him. So that's enough, but this is a very thin margin. If you ask people who they would vote for, again, Obama's on top, he's in blue, Romney's on the head. But if you compare this to the last election, the current election is dark and the last election is light. The difference between Obama and McCain was much bigger at this point last time than it is between Obama and Romney. Obama's still ahead, popularly, but just getting a sense, if you look at how that evolves over time, he's not in as good a position as he was 4 years ago. So, again, it isn't over, but it's not great. If you ask people, are we doing the right thing on the wrong track, right track, what does the future look like? Obama wants those reversed. He wants people to be happy. They're not quite happy yet. So far, all of the campaigns have been very negative. And they go on. Whomever can change this to the positive, I think will win. Positive meaning great inspiration for the future will win. So far, that hasn't happened. It's been very negative. All of the money in the campaigns are focused now on these issues of changing perceptions of the future, optimism, and likability, making you want to like the president, to change these polls. In the primaries, there was a lot of talk about religion, gay marriage, social issues. You're not going to hear that very much. That's going to go down because those issues were really trying to show how conservative you were, how religious you were, how much you were part of the party. That's what you need to do in the primaries. In the general election, you want to be seen as a nice guy. You want to be seen as a good leader. You want to be seen as somebody who relates to everybody across the board. And that means the social issues matter, but they're going to be modified. You're not going to see extreme comments from either party on religion. And religion for Romney could be mixed. The evangelical religious groups in the United States do not consider him to be Christian. They consider Mormonism different. So religion is actually, it's not clear it's going to help him. So that you're not going to hear talk about religion. You're not going to hear talk about gay marriage. You're not going to, that sort of stuff I think is going to go way down. You are going to hear issues about class. The reason that the Obama campaign keeps pushing Bain Capital is not because of, they're criticizing Romney for being a businessman. He's a very good businessman. It's because his success as a multi-million-dollar businessman makes him look different than everybody else.